So I just want to go over this light just a bit. We'll just go through the contents. So you've got your manual, lanyard, 2 O-rings and a spare switch boot for the rear switch. And you've got a holster here. And for the size of the light, they need to do better than this. You know, it's just quite small, but I guess it's good to include it than not. But yeah, you've got 5,000 milliamp hour, 21700 protected lithium ion battery with your USB Type-C port on the side. And here's the light here. So this is designed to have a clip, and there's no clip included. Nothing listed for the accessories. And this thing, if you put this thing on a desk, this thing just wants to roll or an uneven surface. So it'd be good to have a clip like included to have on there, or you know, just if you're out hunting and you don't want to use a holster, you just want to clip it onto your belt. It just should be included. If it's made to have one, include it. So yeah, we'll just have a look at this. So have a look, go through the light a bit. So you've got the side switch, battery status indicator, nice texture to it, risen a bit, good feel, not, you know, no play in it, great. Rear switch with momentary, so a forward switch, good feel to that as well, good click. You've got lanyard attachment up here. And you know, there's no knurling on this, but it is a really nice matte finish on this, so it does add sufficient grip anyway. So this is 25.6 millimeters, and a lot of standard gun mounts out there are 25.4, but the extra is so small that it's going to fit and work, no issue there. And I tried quite a few gun mounts as well, and it's fine. You know, you've got a bit of fins around there, around the switch area. As you can see there, I'll just try and get that. So yeah, that's how, just rotating the reflector is how you get it to change between the white and the red LED. This is available in white, plus, you know, red or green or blue. You have the option of what colored LED you want to pick. And you know, it's a really good performing light, but there are a few issues that we need to talk about. I just mentioned the battery again. This runs on a protected battery, but it will work with flat top and button top just fine. But if it is going on a weapon, you're going to want it to be at least button top, because for a flat top, that spring with a recoil can start to dent in that positive terminal, and that can be a bit of a safety concern because there's a pressure vent underneath that positive terminal. If the battery if it overheats and needs to vent, it won't be able to open that relief vent, and you're going to be in trouble there. For handheld, flat top, perfectly fine. But this does not have any low voltage protection on the light. So if you're going to use an unprotected battery, you just keep an eye on the battery status indicator when it starts flashing red. Like on the white LED, it will just dim all the way down, and you're going to know when it's low. But on the red LED, because the red LED operates at something like 2.2 volts at the lowest, and so that's not going to dim down, that's going to keep working on, I think, low or medium, and that's just going to trigger the low voltage protection on the battery, and it's just going to cut off, straight off, no dimming. And if you use an unprotected battery, it's going to take it down way too low in voltage, and you're going to have a bit of a safety issue there trying to recharge a battery. So I do recommend using a protected battery on this, but I'll have a talk with Cyansky, because they kind of need to have low voltage protection on the light as well, not just the battery. We'll go through the UI now, and then we'll just have a bit more of a talk. So rear switch with, just change that down to low. Rear switch, hold it halfway to get the momentary, and then press it all the way in to turn it on, lock it on. And then on the white LED, you've got 4 modes: low, medium, high, and turbo. No strobes, no SOS, just simple levels. Now if you change it, rotate the head to the red, you've got 3 levels, so low, medium, high, back around again. So really simple to use. The one thing is that if you are on the white on turbo and say on the low level on the red, when you change from the white to the red, the turbo on the white, and then you change to the red will come on the low, so it will memorize the brightness levels for each LED, and I don't really like that. If it's weapon mounted, if I'm on the highest level on the white and I change it over to the red, I'd quite like it to be on the highest level still, not have to be mucking around with the levels, but some people might not mind about that. So I'll just go through a few things now. The white LED did not perform to spec, as you would have seen on screen. It's rated at 2000 lumens at 30 seconds, and I measured at 30 seconds 1616 lumens. They say in their specs they use their Cyansky included battery. So they haven't used a higher performing battery to achieve those 2000 lumens. So it's very obvious someone at Cyansky is bumping up those numbers to make it look better than it is. So it's very unfortunate they've done that, but it measured over the range that they claimed. So they claimed 1000 meters, and I got just over 1000 meters. And range on a hunting flashlight is more important than lumens to me. So I'm more than happy with that. I'm okay with that. And to back that up, so you're not just thinking maybe his equipment's not measuring the lumens correctly. I measured the current rating for the amps on turbo, and it's only 6.5 amps, and that does not equal 2000 lumens. So it's a little bit disappointing to see that they're deceiving people with the numbers there. But moving on, the highest level of any LED has a 1 minute timer. So you have it on the highest level for 1 minute, and then it will trigger and then slowly reduce in brightness. I was quite confused by why they had to add that on the white LED, because it's not mentioned in the data sheet from LUMINUS, that's the manufacturer of the LED. And so yeah, I was confused. I was talking to Cyansky about it, and I realized just today I had to look at the data sheet of the red LED, and the red LED that's operating at about 6 amps, and it mentions that it's a pulse rating in the data sheet, and so that's why there's a timer. So I'm wondering if it's a limitation with the driver circuitry that those two LEDs have to share that 1 minute timer, or whether they were just, that they didn't really think that through properly. I would like to see it changed and remove that timer off the white LED. The manual states thermal regulation on here. So as soon as it reaches X degrees Celsius, it's meant to reduce in brightness, and that doesn't work. So I tried to test that out, and I reactivated turbo every time it went to reduce for the full run of a battery, got it up to 74 degrees Celsius. There's no such thermal regulation on this light. It's just that timer drops it down. But if it's on the highest level and 1 minute isn't enough for you, just quickly turn it off, turn it back on, and that resets that timer. So it's not too big of a deal. I would like Cyansky to produce a regular remote switch, so a remote pressure switch. They only have, and it looks like they've designed it more for the military, as it has a Picatinny mount. And not a lot of hunters in New Zealand, at least, have a rifle with a Picatinny rail. on it. And so, you know, they just need to have a standard remote switch for it. So onto the issues with the quality control coming out of the factory, and it's not great. And I think it's to doing with COVID over there and the lockdowns and the shortage of staff, and maybe more staff being stressed because of the workload on them. But my rear switch is faulty. Sometimes it sticks down, and then so I dismantled the switch. Had a look at it, and whoever was doing the soldering of the switch onto the circuit board melted the switch, and they put it in anyway, and I can't quite get my head around that. You know you've damaged it, and you put it in anyway. I mean, that's just for, if it's you know, a cheap light coming out of China, it's like $15, you know, that kind of thing I'd understand, but not 180 US dollars. Just need to be more careful. Yeah, so this here came with heaps of dust in the reflector, so I'm going to ask Cyansky for a new reflector. And one major issue is that when they were soldering the wires onto the LED MCPCB circuit board, some flux must have splashed over onto the red LED. So I had to dismantle this and clean the LED. Otherwise, that would have probably burnt out the LED at some stage and damaged it. So that's quite a major as well. Yeah. One thing, if you've noticed that those arrows there aren't lining up, if I change it around, aren't lining up to that dot there that shows, you know, where you are, what LED you're on. It's not in alignment there, and since I dismantled this, I didn't quite put it back together in alignment, and so that's, you know, that's my fault. One thing I would like to see changed is just these little arrows, these triangles here, color coded. So one, you know, white, and the other one like red, green or blue, so you know what LED you're on without having to turn it on. It's a little bit annoying. Or maybe some arrows, so you know which way to turn it. Because sometimes, since this is not glued, the body to the head, sometimes if I go to unscrew it, to change LEDs, and I go to turn it the wrong way, I can sometimes unscrew the body to the head, and it's just annoying. It's just something they could add. One last thing, since this is a video mainly directed at hunters, and it's something important you guys need to know, and maybe not what other reviewers are going to bring up, but this red LED from LUMINUS has a maximum wavelength on the red, you know, spectrum of 621 nanometer, and that's sort of just the beginning of the red color. And so it's not really a really dark red, which is going to be more effective on animals. So, you know, it's still good, but it's not as good as it could be. But there is a shortage of LEDs in like 660 nanometer. Yeah, so there's one from LUMINUS, the SST20, but that may leave you at something like 300 meters of range. So it's like half. So yeah, it's just something you need to be aware of when you're choosing it, and have a bit of a think about it. But I'm going to sell this in my store anyway. I'm going to have a little talk to Cyansky about a few issues, what can be improved, and I'll be selling this in my store. Like I've been selling the Convoy C8 Plus with the Osram red LED, and that's rated at 620 nanometer. And I've had heaps of people tell me that they've been that the lights worked really well on deer and rabbits and stuff. So it's still effective, but not as good as it could be if it was at 660 nanometer. And that's going to be the same thing for the green LED as well. Yeah, so I do hope this was helpful for you guys, and thanks for watching.